There is a white powder that costs exactly $1 at any grocery store, and it kills every single cockroach in your home permanently. Not slows them down, not reduces their numbers, kills every last one. Adults, eggs, and colonies, and they never come back. Entomologists at the University of Florida documented this compound in a peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Economic Entomology. Pest control companies have known about it since 1952. The global pest control industry generates $22 billion every single year. A $1 solution that ends their business model permanently is not something they want sitting on your shelf. They did not stop using this powder because it failed. They buried it because it worked far too well. And this is the story of the powder that exterminators spent 70 years making sure your grandmother completely forgot. Welcome to this channel. This is where we dig up exactly what the industry buried. If this knowledge matters to you, hit subscribe and ring the bell right now, because what you're about to learn in the next 13 minutes changes how you look at every dark corner of your home forever. In the summer of 1952, a government entomologist named Dr. Raymond Watkins submitted a 14-page report to the United States Department of Agriculture in Washington. The report documented a naturally occurring mineral compound that killed 100% of German cockroach populations in controlled laboratory testing within 72 hours. No resistance, no survivors, no chemical residue dangerous to humans or pets. The cost per treatment was less than $1. The report was filed, stamped, archived, and it sat in a federal filing cabinet for 40 years without a single commercial citation. Not one pest control company requested the data. Not one manufacturer funded further testing. Because what Dr. Watkins had just documented was not a new discovery. It was 30 million years old, and it had been deliberately forgotten. Go back to ancient Egypt, 1500 years before Christ. Egyptian grain farmers storing wheat and barley in underground stone cellars noticed something that changed their understanding of pest control forever. When they spread a fine white powder along the floors and walls of their storage chambers, the same powder they collected from dried mineral deposits near the banks of the Nile, insects disappeared completely. Not for a few days, for entire seasons. Grain storage records preserved in the British Museum document pest-free storage periods lasting 18 months or longer, protected by nothing more than this white mineral dust spread across stone floors. The farmers did not understand the chemistry. They did not need to. They knew it worked. In medieval Europe, 12th century monastery records from the Abbey of Canterbury describe monks using the same white powder to protect stored grain, dried herbs, and winter vegetables from insect destruction. The records describe it as earth powder from the riverbed, gathered in late summer and spread fresh each autumn before the harvest stores were sealed. In Japan, samurai household records from the Edo period document the use of a similar white mineral dust to protect rice stores from weevil and cockroach infestation across multiple seasons. Every civilization that faced a serious stored food problem and lacked modern chemistry arrived at the same answer through observation and necessity. The same white powder, the same result, the same industry that came later and buried all of it. But here is what none of the history books mention, and what the pest control industry spent millions of dollars making sure disappeared from your memory entirely. Stay with me, because what happens next in this story is the part that should make you genuinely angry. The compound is diatomaceous earth. It is the fossilized skeletal remains of microscopic single-celled algae called diatoms that lived in ancient freshwater lakes and oceans and died approximately 30 million years ago. Their silica shells settled to the lake bed over millions of years and compressed into soft, chalky stone deposits found on every continent on Earth. When that stone is mined and milled into a fine powder, it becomes one of the most effective insect killers ever discovered, and it costs $1 per pound. Now here is the science that the pest control industry needs you to never understand. Under a microscope, each particle of diatomaceous earth looks like a razor-edged disc, geometrically precise, jagged at every edge, microscopically sharp in a way that no human hand could replicate. To you, holding a handful of this powder feels exactly like talcum powder, completely harmless, completely soft. But to a cockroach walking through it, every single step is catastrophic. The particles slice through the thin, waxy coating that covers the cockroach exoskeleton, the protective shell that holds all of the insect's internal moisture in place. Imagine walking barefoot across a floor covered in microscopic broken glass that you cannot see and cannot avoid. Every step destroys more of your body's ability to hold water. That is what diatomaceous earth does to a cockroach at the cellular level. The insect dehydrates from the inside out. It cannot build resistance to this process, because resistance is a biological response to chemical attack. This is not a chemical attack. This is physics. Mechanical destruction at a scale the cockroach has no evolutionary response to. And physics does not negotiate with cockroaches. The cockroach population in your home right now, and statistically, if you live in any building that shares walls, floors, or plumbing with another unit, there's a cockroach population active somewhere in your home right now. follow specific movement patterns every single night. They travel the same routes, the same wall edges, the same cabinet undersides, the same gap behind your refrigerator, the same dark space underneath your stove, the same void behind the electrical outlets on your exterior walls. They are creatures of absolute habit. And that habit is about to be used against every single one of them. In 1952, the year Dr. Watkins filed his report, the United States pest control industry was undergoing a massive commercial transformation. Synthetic chemical pesticides developed during World War II for military applications were being repackaged for residential sale. DDT, chlordane, and grenoquat and organol chlorine compounds were generating enormous profits for chemical manufacturers who had spent billions building production facilities and distribution networks around products that required repeated application, professional certification to apply, and monthly service contracts to maintain their effectiveness. A naturally occurring mineral powder that any homeowner could buy in bulk, apply themselves in an afternoon, and never need to repurchase for years was not a business opportunity. It was an existential threat to a business model that needed pest problems to remain recurring problems. The report was filed. The industry chose silence, and the silence has cost American homeowners over $1 trillion in pest control service fees in the 70 years since. Think about what that number means in your life specifically. Think about every cockroach you have seen in your kitchen and the immediate panic that followed. Think about every spray can you purchased at the hardware store for $12 that worked for 2 weeks and then required another can. Think about every professional exterminator visit you scheduled for $89 that required a follow-up visit 30 days later. Think about every food item you threw away because cockroaches contaminated it. Think about the anxiety of not being able to leave food on your counter. Think about the embarrassment when a guest saw one cross your floor. Every dollar you spent, every moment of stress you carried, it was directed at you by an industry that had a permanent answer in a filing cabinet since 1952 and chose their revenue over your peace of mind for 7 decades. The global pest control industry generates $22 billion annually. Cockroach elimination specifically accounts for 34% of all residential pest control contracts in the United States. That is $7.4 billion per year of recurring service agreements built entirely around cockroach problems. A $1 powder you purchase once and apply yourself does not fit anywhere inside $7 billion of annual recurring revenue. A permanent solution is not what the industry offers. A permanent solution is what the industry has spent 70 years engineering out of your awareness. If you have made it this far, you already know more about cockroach elimination than 99% of people currently paying a monthly exterminator contract for something a $1 bag solves permanently. Subscribe now and share this video with someone whose home deserves the same answer. Because every month they do not know this, that $22 billion industry keeps sending them an invoice for a problem that has been permanently solved since before television existed. Now stay with me, because what comes next is the exact method they truly never wanted you to build, and placement matters as much as the powder itself. Go to any hardware store, garden center, or online retailer and search for food-grade diatomaceous earth. Write that down. Food grade. Those 2 words matter. There is a second type sold for swimming pool filtration systems called pool-grade diatomaceous earth, and that version has been chemically processed in a way that makes it dangerous to inhale and ineffective as an insect killer, food grade only. A 2-pound bag costs between $8 and $12 and contains enough powder to treat an entire home completely. The brand does not matter. The source does not matter. The chemical composition of food-grade diatomaceous earth is identical regardless of packaging. You're buying a mineral that formed 30 million years ago. Marketing did not change its properties. Now, remember what I told you about cockroach movement patterns? They travel the same routes every night, along wall edges and cabinet undersides and appliance gaps. Your job is to place a thin, barely visible layer of powder directly across every route they use. The word thin is critical here. A thick pile of powder is actually less effective than a fine dusting because cockroaches will detect the texture change and walk around a heavy pile. A thin dusting is invisible to them and impossible to avoid. Apply a fine line of powder along every baseboard edge in your kitchen and bathroom. Apply it inside every cabinet hinge gap. Apply it along the underside of every cabinet shelf where the shelf meets the back wall. Pull your refrigerator away from the wall and apply powder along the floor behind it and along the bottom of the refrigerator itself where it meets the floor. Do the same behind your stove. Apply a fine dusting inside every electrical outlet box on exterior walls. These are primary entry points from wall voids. Apply powder in the space under your sink where pipes enter the wall. Apply a thin line across every door threshold that leads to an exterior wall or shared wall. If you live in an apartment, apply powder along every wall that is shared with a neighboring unit. Within 24 hours, cockroaches moving through the treated areas will begin absorbing the powder on their legs and body surface. They carry it back to harborage sites and transfer it to other insects through contact. Within 48 to 72 hours, the dehydration process renders them unable to move. Within 1 week of initial application, active populations in treated areas are eliminated completely. I need to be completely honest with you about one limitation, because the pest control industry will use this limitation to dismiss everything I just told you, and you need to hear it from me first. Diatomaceous earth loses a significant portion of its effectiveness when it becomes wet. In bathrooms with constant standing water or areas with active plumbing leaks, the powder clumps and stops working until it dries completely. In those specific areas, reapplication after any significant moisture exposure is necessary. That is still $9 per year in powder versus $1,000 in annual service contracts. The limitation is real. The math still destroys the exterminator's business model completely. I'm telling you the limitation because this channel does not hide inconvenient facts to make a cleaner story. The powder works. It has one condition. Now you know both. A homeowner in Houston, Texas, documented her experience applying food-grade diatomaceous earth throughout her apartment in April of 2023. She had been paying $89 per month for a professional pest control service for 3 consecutive years, $3,204 total. She had seen cockroaches in her kitchen every single week during those 3 years, despite the monthly professional treatments. Within 72 hours of applying $9 worth of diatomaceous earth powder herself in a single afternoon, cockroach activity in her kitchen dropped completely to zero. She saw nothing, not one insect. 6 months later, with the powder still in place and a single reapplication after a plumbing repair, not a single cockroach had returned. She canceled her service contract, $9 versus $3,204. The exterminator never mentioned diatomaceous earth once in 3 years of monthly visits, charging her $89 each time. 30 million years ago, microscopic algae died in ancient lakes and settled into stone at the bottom of seas that no longer exist. Today, that stone costs $1 per pound at any hardware store on Earth. Every civilization that faced a serious insect problem, Egyptian grain farmers protecting wheat stores along the Nile, medieval monks sealing their harvest against winter infestation, Japanese samurai households protecting rice stores across decades of monsoon seasons, found the same answer through careful observation. A $22 billion industry found the same answer in 1952. They chose not to tell you. They chose 7 decades of monthly invoices over 1 afternoon of honest information. The powder is still on the shelf. The cockroaches are still moving through your walls right now in the dark. And the exterminator is still printing your next invoice for a problem that has been permanently solved since before your parents were born. Today, sitting here watching this video, you just remembered everything they spent 70 years and billions of dollars making sure you would forget. If this video opened something for you, subscribe and share it with someone whose home deserves the same answer. Every single share puts a crack in the wall that industry built around knowledge that was never theirs to bury. The next video opens a vault that has been sealed even longer. And what is inside will make today's revelation look like a warm-up. Do not miss it.